This is Mayhem Mansion, a Doom 2 mod. Created by a user named Psycho, this mod is batshit insane, and I love every second of it. Giant lips that throw dark forces mines at you, French toast enemies that have capes for some reason, billycopters, what's not to like? This mod came out about a decade ago. It's a complete overhaul of Doom 2, and it's massive. It has 8 levels, which take about an hour and a half to complete each one. If you're into Doom mods, I'd certainly recommend it. But what I find more interesting is the giant rabbit hole behind the game that inspired it. In the description for the mod, Psycho states that this is based off of an obscure video game titled Exploding Lips. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where our journey begins. Are you ready to get spiritual? No? Well, buckle up anyway, because this one gets pretty weird. Exploding Lips was developed by Galaxy Games in 1999. Not much is known about these devs. They made this and an earlier title named Paparazzi, which is even more difficult to find info on. ChatGPT's deep search couldn't even figure out what I was trying to find. This game isn't too much more than a poorly made Doom clone, and that's where most people would stop. But me, I'm a bit too curious. The biggest thing on my mind is, what engine was this game built off of? id Tech? Build? Raven? Nope. God. That's right. This game was built on the God engine. It's an acronym, which apparently stands for Game Engine of Diabolical Destruction. And if we search for the God engine, we come to find this website. This entire thing looks like a shitpost, but if it is, it's really well done. There's quite a few games listed on this site, lots of wars apparently. Some of them are outright absurd, while others seem to play into this kind of spiritualistic thing that I'm not quite sure I can describe. Exploding Lips is mentioned here. It's odd because it's the only one without the creator's name on it. Apparently it was updated in 2021, 21 years after release according to the description. There's just so much dedication to this website, it's baffling to me. Sex Wars. Free Sex O'Hallahan from her horrid captors. The idea was to advertise the game as free sex now. But somehow it got lost in the translation. What? It's your game, isn't it? Couldn't you just rename it? What language was it originally in? And what the hell is this exactly? I have so many questions. Dragons 2021. Completely overhauled and refurbished. The action is incredible and responsive to your actual keyboard and mouse moves, so your touch will be reflected in the action. Yeah, I typically like games where the controls work, yes. No blood, no guts, nothing to get hung about. I'm thinking hung means something completely different where I'm from. Rome 3 Extreme. This is what it was like to live in this ancient time period. Something that we all did several times along the way here. Alright. It was brutal and mean, tough and stingy, favoring the ruling class and utterly smashing the lower classes, the plebeians and keeping the proletarians in charge. Just like today's political scene. Poor grammar aside, I get it. Today's political climate is pretty bad.
I love Tesla!
But this is kind of the danger in shit like this. Any idiot can make a good point once in a while. Just look at my channel. But just because you make a few good points doesn't mean people should listen to everything you say. None of these entries really tell anything about the games being sold here. Each description seems more like the ramblings of a madman rather than actually telling you anything about the game. Everything about this website screams scam, even down to the astrology section. The games on this website are sometimes referred to as orbs, which, when I saw that, it struck a core memory in my brain. If you were a Vinnie Vinesauce fan in the mid-2010s, you're probably familiar with orbs. Which leads us to Prosperity Path. Welcome to Earth. Game. Prosperity Path is a collection of video game orbs designed to coach you through a mindful training process that will cleanse your karma and attend to a multitude of life problems. They offer cleansing orbs, meditation orbs, power orbs, dissolving radiation orbs, whatever the hell that means. They've got all the orbs your decrepit soul could ever need. They even have Extreme 3 orbs that are specifically designed to take advantage of God affirmation power. Are you lost yet? Don't worry, I'm right there with you. From what I remember from Vinny's videos, pretty much all of these orbs were really similar in nature. It just seemed like the text was changed a bit to loosely fit each theme, if you can even call it that. All these were poorly made, barely functioning games, like worse than anything EA has come up with. It might run better than Star Citizen, but that's a pretty low bar to meet. I can't help but get the feeling that this is just a cash grab for vulnerable or confused people. Are you looking for guidance? Do you want to connect with your divine nature? Have you been wondering what your mission on Earth actually might be? Wait, I thought it was Earth. The God Particle expansion can offer you insights, inspiration, creative directions, and connection. The God Particle expansion is your new ally. I have a feeling this has nothing to do with the Higgs boson. This isn't some weird pleasure crystal thing, is it? I've seen those Craigslist ads. Oh, it's a thumb drive. You could not pay me enough to put that herpes stick on any of my personal devices. According to the description, this thing engages a combination of computer science and quantum physics. I mean, yeah, I guess that's technically correct, as it's a USB stick that plugs into your computer, and it kinda needed computer science to exist in the first place. And the entire universe wouldn't exist without quantum physics, but okay. We're not an English comp class, mate. You can just tell us it's a USB drive with some useless shit on it, and we'd probably still buy it. Well, maybe not for $90. I guess this thumb drive includes a bunch of different orbs, including Bardo Town, Temple of the Rainbow, Norton Street, and the God Cube. Spelled correctly this time for some reason. So what I gather is that the belief system around this is some odd bastardization of Tibetan Buddhism, as Bardo is an intermediate state between death and reincarnation in that religion. Kinda like purgatory, but not quite. Prosperity Path, God Games, and I assume Galaxy Games are all the creation of E.J. Gold, also known as Gorbag or Gorby. You probably never heard of him, but he's a spiritualist who has some rather esoteric beliefs. He claims to be an 80-year-old man, and apparently he's been busy throughout his life. Game developer, artist, philosopher, writer, engineer, inventor, musician, this guy seems to do everything according to his website. There's a screenshot showing him as rank 1 in the Diablo 2 leaderboards at some point. The caption says 2008, but I can't confirm that. And given the nature of all this, I'd take everything here with a grain of salt. There's another picture of him at ZeldaCon in the 1980s. Again, I can't confirm this, because ZeldaCon doesn't seem to exist. I'm not sure if that's just a name he colloquially gave to a Nintendo event that was held in the 80s, or maybe it was one of his own local events. The only thing I can find on Nintendo showing off Zelda in the 80s would be at CES, at least in America. If this is all just a troll, a massive amount of effort went into it, which leads me to believe this is somewhat earnest. Gold was, or still is, part of the Human Potential movement, which is a spiritual counterculture scene originating in the 60s. This explains a lot. They believe people have this hidden potential and can liberate themselves through various methods. I wouldn't say most of these ideals are harmful. Hell, if you've ever been to therapy, you've probably already heard of their basic philosophy. From what I gather, their teachings focus on things like mindfulness, meditation, breathing techniques, yoga-like exercises, things like that. One of the cruxes of this movement, however, is that they perpetuate the misnomer that humans only use 10% of their brain, and through their different teachings, you can learn to unlock the other 90%. This isn't true. Barring brain damage, every part of your brain gets used daily. HPM in itself seems like it tries to combine the scientific psychology of the 1960s with Buddhist tradition. Religious mysticism and science don't typically mix very well, and given the time frame, I'm almost positive LSD was involved in its creation. E.J. Gold was the son of Horace Leonard Gold, a science fiction writer who wrote for several DC comics before World War II. He was also the editor for Galaxy Science Fiction, which was a sci-fi magazine that ran from 1950 to 1980. This gives us another loose connection to Galaxy games, as they are similarly titled, but it's really not that concrete. Gold's life really does seem like an adventure, to the point where some of the claims he makes are difficult to believe without proof. For example, according to this excerpt from highart.com, Gold spent the 50s and 60s in the East Coast jazz scene. This article claims he made a portrait of jazz musician Herbie Hancock that was acquired by the Smithsonian. I honestly could not believe this until I found it on the National Museum's website. He also has several 3D digital galleries that you can go through. This is a short snippet of his Unusual Selfies gallery. Gold has written dozens of books, most notably the American Book of the Dead, which is supposed to be a restructuring, I guess, of the Tibetan Book of the Dead for an American audience. The Amazon reviews seem hit and miss, however. One person even talks about a now-deleted turf war in the review section. He has another book called Slime Wars, because of course there has to be some type of war. Not sure I want to be involved with this guy's slime war. Slime Wars is intended to be read aloud in groups. It has a special purpose of stimulating various parts of lower and higher centers, from the moving/instinctive all the way to the highest essential centers, in cordial groupings and multi-level responsive interactions, in much the same way as the interwoven parts of an orchestral work would function for the stimulation of various parts of psycho-emotional and sometimes spiritual centers. What the hell did I just read? This comes off as someone using big, scary words, incoherently mind you, just to sound intelligent. This book is not for the public. It is not and was never intended for public release. Then why did you release it publicly? It is being offered to you with the understanding that you will use it for its primary purpose, that of awakening and activating the full spectrum of lower to higher psycho-emotional to spiritual centers in the reader and listeners. After deciphering the gibberish, the description seems to be in line somewhat with the Fourth Way movement. Good to see that Wikipedia is still using terrible photos of everyone. Pioneered by George Goodruff, the cliff notes on this philosophy is that there are three permanent states, or ways, that everyone lives by, that being physical, emotional, and intellectual. However, this philosophy states that everyone is also in some sort of permanent sleep. Even while conscious, you're in this waking dream of sorts. They claim that through their teachings, one can awaken and merge all three of these ways into one singular fourth way, thus achieving enlightenment and becoming a higher being. You can't do this by yourself, however. Someone higher than you has to be the one to teach you for some reason. I can't get behind the more mystical elements of this philosophy. I mean, it's interesting to research, but I'm not the type to buy into this sort of thing. What is interesting, though, is that a lot of these teachings take from actual psychology. Some of these practices could actually benefit you. I don't think believing in a moon hierarchy will do too much for you. But concepts like self-observation and mindfulness are used quite frequently in modern-day psychology, and are legitimately proven to reduce stress and anxiety. At the end of the day, who am I to judge? This guy is quite a bit more successful than me, so something must be going for him. Do I believe he's an enlightened one? Not necessarily, but even in relative obscurity, this guy seems to have led more than a full life. With the sheer amount of projects he's been a part of, it really is a testament to how things like self-actualization can help somebody through their lives. I really wasn't expecting to go on a spiritual journey when I decided to research a Doom 2 mod. This really was an adventure. I haven't found a rabbit hole like this in a very long time. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you in the next one. I'm out.